Hey, good day everyone. I hope all is well with you and your family. I'm excited to do this video. I had came across a podcasting video from Valuetainment. I don't know how many of you um, are aware of Valuetainment or watch Valuetainment, but I do. And they did a video titled "Gut the Department of Education. Trump announces a radical plan to overhaul U.S. education system." Oh, by the way, my apologies. I am a mom of three boys. I have a dog, so you'll be hearing some background noises from time to time. But I just wanted to just share this video, do a commentary on it, share it with you, not just throw it on there for you to watch, but also have a discussion about this video with you. I thought this was very, very interesting, and it pertains to a lot of things regarding our children's education. um, Parents who are thinking of homeschooling their children or transitioning their kids the traditional public school system to homeschooling, or if they're transitioning them back into high school or back into the private school or public school. However, it works for you and your family. All right. So I'm going to do a side by side. Okay. I'm so proud of myself that I'm able to do this without Odie. He's always like, oh, I have to have job security with you. But he's taught me well. He taught me well. He's actually away this weekend at a men's conference. So he's spending time, investing time, with him for himself, with his relationship with God, and I'm super excited for him with that. Yeah, so I had to figure this out without him. It took a few. I think it took like about 2 takes, but I was able to figure out why it wasn't connecting side by side. But this is a video. Let me just press play.
I want to go to next story. Sure. I'm going to go to the next story. So Trump preparing to majorly revamp Department of Education as math reading scores show stunning lows. Rob, if you got a clip on that, go for it. I'll read this time. I'm coming to you first on this one. No need for the guys. I'm just saying, look, I'm going to come to you. So, all right. So, President Trump is preparing a major overhaul of the Department of Education after math and reading scores alarming lows, with 40% of the fourth graders, 33% of eighth graders. Readings below basic level, only 28% of eighth graders proficient in math. That is insane.
Say that again.
Only 28% of eighth graders are proficient in math, according to the National Assessment of Education Progress. Moms for Liberty co-founder Tiffany Justice told.
All right, I'm gonna pause this for from time to time, so bear with me. If you want to watch the whole video, I'll put the link. But I'm going to be making some comments throughout this. I have to. This is why I'm sharing this with you all. I just was stunned with the numbers too, regarding the educational system in America and how it's really failing us, and the children are the future, right? So there's a lot of layers to peel. That is the cause of why the numbers are the way that they are. And as we watch the video, I'll make, my 2-cent comments regarding that. But one of the advantage of me being able to educate my child personally, I know where their levels are at because, of course, with New York State, you have to do quarterly reports, and they also have to do assessments that you have to provide to the district in the beginning of the year and at the end of the year. However, I've been doing it quarterly, the assessments quarterly, so I can see where their reading is and where their math is, and I can adjust it accordingly, work on things, tweak their agenda, so on and so forth. So it's like an advantage. And in areas where I am not able to help them, if Odie's not able to do it, then we invest in a tutor. I'm sure you ladies or men have seen the Solomon tutoring on the thread, on the Steps to Homeschooling page. So I definitely use Solomon Tutoring as well for that extra help when I have a goal for the boys that they need to reach, right? And we work as a team. So where I fall short in certain areas, I'm not perfect. I know my weaknesses. I seek outside sources to support my sons, right? So in knowing where they are at, I can, again, tweak their agenda according to that. And then the next quarter, we'll do another assessment and then we'll see and then we'll adjust. I think that's cool. I don't know how many parents are able to do that with their child, even with their child in school. We leave it up to the teachers to teach our kids and that's it. But as parents, we do have to take the responsibilities to support them in our children in their homework, to support them in any way we can. If it's investing in a tutor, we invest when it comes to sports, right? But we can also invest in getting help like academic tutoring support for our children as well. That I strongly believe that. Or however you can support them if you don't have the time, or if you do have the time, or make the time, right? Because education starts really in the home. Okay, we can't just leave it to the schools and the teachers to just only teach our kids. We have to, as parents, have to be involved and know really what's going on with our kids, right? Going to the meetings, being involved as much as we can. If you can't make it, email, be active in the parent portals that they have, and just be aware. If most parents that are able to or not able to, or just in general, if most parents are just 2 or 3% more involved than they are now, that these numbers that Patrick is talking about on his Valuetainment podcast would definitely not be as low as they are. Okay, you have a lot of my sister is a teacher. I have a lot of other people that my sister-in-law is a teacher, so I know people in the educational system, and they say themselves, like, these kids, some of them, their reading level is not up to par, their math is not up to par, and the children are our future. They're going to be running this country, right? We do everything for our family and for our kids, and to set up a legacy for the generations to come, right? So it's our responsibility to make sure that we invest in our children, not in just only, loving them, providing for them, food, shelter, clothing, but that we invest in their education as much as that we can, right? Yeah, so I'm going to continue this as well. Bear with me. I'm still going with the flow and learning this.
Fox and friends, that Trump met with governors who were not only furious about academic failures, but also about the toxic soup of SEL, DEI, CRT being pushed in schools. Refreshing to see social economic learning being pushed in schools. Justice claimed governors urged Trump to give states more power, telling them parents want more choice. Let's help parents to put them in driver's seat so they can make the best decisions for their kids. Go ahead, Rob.
I agree with that. Parents should be in the driver's seat.
Linda McMahon to be the Education Department Secretary if you're going to get rid of the
Listen, politics matters when it comes to the education system.
I hope you do a great job and put yourself out of a job. I want her to put herself out of a job. Education Department. So we're ranked number 40 out of 40 schools, right? We're ranked number 1 in cost per pupil. So we spend more per pupil than any other country in the world, and we're ranked at the bottom of the list. We're ranked very badly. And what I want to do is
I don't know if you caught that the United States pumps a lot of money into the educational system, but yet we're ranked so low internationally compared to other countries, right? Why is that? Now, you have some countries where parents have to pay out of pocket in order for their child to go to school. But then you also have some countries, just like how the U.S. is designed, right? Through taxes, you have public schools where you don't have to pay because, pay for your child. Education is free. up until, right? And then of course you have private schools, charter schools, then you have, college, which is like a whole different beast in itself, right? I'm going to continue the video.
Let the states run schools. I believe strongly in school choice. But in addition to that, I want the states to run schools, and I want Linda to put herself out of a job.
So do you think that's something you can do with an executive order, or are you going to ask Congress to do it?
I would like to be able to. Look, if I could give the schools back to Iowa and Idaho and Indiana and all these places that run properly, there's many of them. I think so. If you look at the list, Denmark, Sweden, Norway, believe it or not, China's doing very well on that list, a list of well-educated, where they run their school system well. You have a lot of countries, not surprising names. I think that if you moved our schools into some of these states that are really well-run states, they would be as good as Denmark and Norway and Sweden and some of the other states. And then you'd have the laggards, and you know who they are. I don't have to go to it, but you'd have the laggards, the same laggards that are laggards with everything else, including crime.
Tom,
But even them, you'll...
thoughts?
Okay, he's going to go into what everyone's thoughts in the panel is, but I'm going to tell you what my thoughts are. Okay? My thoughts is that Trump is really digging in when it comes to education, the educational system in America, right? Because again, how is it that we're spending all this money on education, but yet it's not working? We're failing our children. We're failing these kids, right? It's not just only about our kids, but other kids, right? Matter in this country as well too. So nationally, we're failing our kids when we're looking at these numbers. Like, how is it that we're spending and pumping all this money, right? I believe that part of Trump's "Make America Great Again" is looking into the education system, right? And also by making America great again, bringing God back, right? Bringing God back into the heart of America, because without God, we won't succeed, right? We need God as the foundation, right? And education, again, like I had mentioned, there's a lot of layers when it comes to education, because there's a lot of different dynamics of things that are going on in the homes, where it's not just only about learning, right? There's a lot of other things that are going on in these homes that the children are dealing with, where the parents are failing. Let's keep it real. There are parents that are failing their children, and they're not as involved as they should be when it comes to their child's education. And there's like so many other things, right? But I definitely wanted to, talk about that. So I'm thankful that Trump is looking into the educational system and is thinking about the educational system. It's besides the point of Department of Education and giving the power back to the states. I'm looking at it more in the aspect of just let's highlight what's going on in America when it comes to education, right? How can we make it better, right? Because pumping money into it is not the answer, right? Just constant pumping money into it is just not the answer, right? So what are we doing and how can we make things better for our country, for these children, right? The future.
The Department of Education is a national bureaucracy that attempted to make an average size shirt and send it, and it doesn't fit anybody. What they've done, there were some well-intended things on national test standards and stuff, but they're absolutely correct. This bloated bureaucracy has got all this money, and you're telling me that Mississippi has got the same challenges that Connecticut does? They don't. And so the national body is actually 2 steps away, with governors of those 2 states saying, hey, I've got different problems that I have here with single-parent households and things in Mississippi that have been going on generations. I need to do this, and this is what I need to help these students in Mississippi. And it's bad here and here. Massachusetts says, well, Connecticut says, well, my problems are a little bit different. I got this going on and that going on. I actually got pretty good math and English scores, but I've got these other things going on in the schools here. There are regional issues that go on that this is why we have governors. The reason the president doesn't, run the entire country without governors is because each state needs its leadership to act local. So you can think global, act local. So, but the Department of Education has presided over this. I mean, by definition, just look at the test scores. Look at what he said about international. Okay, who's been in charge? Department of Education. Okay, inherently, you're fired. You're done, and we're going to do something else with the money. And
Here's what Rokana said about it. He's got a completely different perspective. Go ahead.
ABC News is reporting that President Trump plans to eliminate the Department of Education with an executive order. This is an assault on every young American who went to public school like me. This is an assault on every American family who has someone who is disabled and needs the IDEA program to provide education.
Chris, your thoughts on this?
I want to pause that before Chris gives his thoughts. I'm personally, my educational history is that I did attend Catholic private school when I was young. At some point, I think it was just for a few years. And then, but most of my education has been public school education. Okay. My mom didn't really have the opportunity to, financially to continue, for me to go to private school, although that's what she would have preferred, because, it was important that, I got the word, I could pray in school, so on and so forth, right? But I did most of my schooling in public school. I grew up in Brooklyn, so most of my education is from Brooklyn. Most of my years I went to they do numbers in Brooklyn, so I went to PS 279 Elementary, then I went to IS 211 Junior High School, and then I went to Canarsie High School for up to 11th grade, and then my parents moved, and then so I ended up going to Elmont High School my senior year, and then I graduated with a Regents Diploma, honors, and then I ended up going to Concordia College, where I had gotten a scholarship where I had to maintain a certain GPA and so forth, which helped to assist with the funds. You know how expensive that can be. So that's pretty much the school that I decided to go to, it's so sad that Concordia College does not exist anymore. So I feel like I never really went to college, but I did. COVID hit them financially so bad that they shut down. It's so sad. There's no more Concordia College anymore. In Bronxville, New York is where I had went, just to be specific of the area. But I wanted to go to a school that was close to home, but not too far from home. And that, at least on the weekends, I could just hop on the train and go home. Or, when I had breaks, it wasn't too much. But I still wanted my independence. So I went away to school for 4 years, graduated there. And I had a great time. The school was a Lutheran private school. So that was important to me, to have a faith-based school as well. And a school that wasn't too big, with that I wouldn't be known by name. And I'm just known as a number or just a face, right? So that was important to me, to get an education where it's like the student to professor ratio is not so high and stuff. So that's a little bit about, for me, with my educational background. So I did have an experience of going to private school, but that was when I was, really, really young. But most of my education has been public school education. I could tell you, when I was in Canarsie, I felt, looking back at it now, we were treated like criminals. Like, we had to go through metal detectors every morning. They had this room where you would go into the room if you beeped, and you had to put, like, it's like TSA airport every morning to go to school. It was now when I look back at it, I was like, that was horrible to be treated that way. Like, you know, it makes you really think about the school to prison pipeline and how some of these schools are designed that way, like prisons, because literally we were treated like criminals. And then if you beeped, they'd put you in a room on the side, and then you would have to go like this, put your arms up, and they would scan you and see if you had anything on you. This is what the routine was every morning. The doors were locked. If you went out, you were not going to be able to come back in. Okay. And then when my parents moved to Elmont, it was night and day. I just spent my senior year in high school, and that school experience, it was like way better. Like, we had our own lockers. We didn't have to go through metal detectors. So it just shows you demographic, area, resources, like how all that plays, the politics, right? The funding, the money, the bureaucracy of things, right? And I was just like, oh my goodness, it was night and day. So anyway, let me continue this.
You can't spend your way out of the problem. And it is a great, if misleading, statistic that we pay the most and we get the least. There are a lot of problems with the cost structure, and that is also state by state.
What do you mean misleading?
It's misleading in that the reason it is expensive is because what goes into government funding in the first place. If you look at the funding, it's not that the kid gets $9,000 a year. It's that the system of what the unions have to, what the unions get out of it, and what all the staffing is, and the transportation, and the physical plants. There's all this other stuff that goes in it that's all very expensive in America. So that's not why you're failing. Why you're failing is very complicated. Getting rid of the DOE isn't going to necessarily automatically make things better because the states will have more control. Milton Friedman was very good on this. Get rid of the Department of Education. He would say yes, but then when you asked him for the rationale, he would wind up really just, it's about scaling. And again, these are political choices. Can Trump do it alone? No, that's easy. That's Article 1, Section 8 of the Constitution. If Congress funds it, Congress controls its existence. So you need Congress to get rid of a government agency.
What percentage? What percentage vote do you need to get rid of it?
Oh, just like any other law. You don't need a supermajority or anything like that. But you need a congressional act. But that's not the point. He doesn't have to get rid of it to gut it.
So he could get rid of it.
He could scale it down,
right?
But he cannot eliminate an agency. And that's okay, because that's not really the debate we're having. That's the debate they'll make. That's what Roe is doing, whom I also think is a fair broker, and I love having him on my show. But it's not about him overtaking constitutional power. That's not where we are. It's about how do you do this better? And everybody knows, look, I'll tell you what a taxpayer wouldn't argue with, okay? I'm going to raise your taxes, and we're going to have kids in school longer than anybody else in the world. And we're going to have the school day longer. We're going to feed them differently. We're going to educate them. We're going to exercise them. And we're going to do all these things that aren't getting done by families in this country anymore. I don't think taxpayers would have the same kind of problem that they do right now, because it's about the return on investment. All these...
So him talking about taxpayers wouldn't mind paying. Listen, things are expensive enough as it is. Paying more for now are for the children to be in school longer and so on and so forth of what he had mentioned, because there's a lot of things that families aren't doing. And this is where, if you as a parent are thinking about, like, listen, I barely see my child, barely have time with my kid. The school is literally putting all the values in raising my kid, and I'm thinking, you know what, I want to be able to raise my child and educate them, right, and homeschool them instead of having them in school longer from what he's saying, and at the end of the day, it's really what's going on in the homes, with the families.
kids are failing in the schools. Why? Because the standards have sunk. They're dealing with all these things that aren't education related. And there is no real incentive to succeed for any of these places. Nobody gets punished if their kids don't do well.
That's the budget right now. K through 12, 612.7 billion annually, about 12,612 per kid. Federal, state, and local governments spend about 720 billion annually, which makes it 14.8. Federal government provides 7.7% of funding. State provides 46.7, and local governments provide 45.6.
Right. This is of the funding. Now you want to talk about that's the funding. Now let's talk about the influence and CRT and DEI and the SEL and the things that are going in there that the government is invoking. So the government's, if you take a look at the influence and control, it's not 7.7%. It's greater than that. And I think that what Ro Khanna is doing is he's standing up there, and it's a little bit of grandstanding. He was just here, respect him, thank you for being here. But to stand up there and saying, this is terrible, this is public. I was a public school kid. And what he's saying now, he picks out a program that is doing some good, IDEA, and says, without IDEA, then these kids, that's a very populist thing you can say. Okay, Ro, but now let's go back to it and let's look at all the other things that aren't working, and we want to release the states to not be under the thumb of the DEA. The DEA, they need that.
The DOE.
The schools actually need DEA, unfortunately, the DOE. And so to give the local, magistrators, and the governors and the mayors and everything to do it. And what that's going to do is that's going to force the states to come head to head with the unions in their state, and things like LAUSD, which is the largest school district in the United States, Los Angeles, and by its own admission, and the admission of people that have been there on city council, probably the poorest run school district in the United States. So, okay, now let's move all this down local, and let's see if we can get some change out of it. It's not just about setting standards, it's then dealing with all the issues, and rather than IDEA coming from the federal government, we don't want it to go away. Something's going to have to replace the programs that are good, but let the state do it. They're at 93% of the total spend. 46 from the state and 44 from the local, right?
Right.
But take that the 7% you can keep. Let's do something else with the money, but let's not have the government with the huge.
It's not a lot of money. Just take it. Take the 7.7.
It's not the money. It's the control.
I totally get that. Yeah, I totally get. I understand what you're saying.
So you can do it without getting rid of the DOE. You can keep the parts that work, and you get rid of the parts that don't. And these are political judgments. The president can do a lot of it on his own. If he can't, then he turns to his party and says, "This is what I want."
And you're going to find unions that are screaming at senators who are screaming.
If they get rid of it, I think DOE getting rid of DOE would be massive.
I don't think they're going to get rid of the entire agency, but again, you don't have to make the kinds of changes that are being discussed.
But you almost have to for the next administration to come in. You need to show the example of. If you don't, the next guy can come in and say no. Let's impose DEI. Let's bring back all the mindsets that we had before. Let's bring that back again. Yeah. Somebody can bring that back. It's been proven it didn't work. Adam, your thoughts on this?
Would you agree that there needs to be a dramatic change here? It's not like these are small numbers. Alarming lows. 40% of fourth graders. That's not 4%. 40% of fourth graders and 30% of eighth graders below basic levels. Basic levels.
Yeah.
Almost half below.
You don't.
So there was I posted this the other day because I want to give a shout out to, hopefully the Eagles can beat the Chiefs this week. Do you remember when the mayor came out last week and she was like basically saying, "Let's go Eagles, E-L-G."
No, she didn't.
Watch this.
You all say E-L-G-L-E-S, Eagles.
She did.
Yeah, there she goes right there.
Do you think she can't spell Eagles?
I'm just saying it's anecdotal.
Do you think she can't spell? It's not anecdotal. It's bullshit.
She did. But you know what? Before I posted that ridiculousness, I said, let me actually find out what the hell's going on.
How to spell Eagles?
In Philly. Podcast. According to 2022 National Assessment of Education Progress, the NASA's report card, Philadelphia's fourth grade students had an average reading score of 195. That's below the average of large cities. Only 13% of Philadelphia's fourth graders was considered proficient in reading, well below the 40% that we talked about over there. Adult literacy is pressing concern in Philadelphia, approximately 52% of adults in the city are functionally illiterate, meaning they struggle with basic reading. That's
Rob.
adults, 52%.
Yeah.
These statistics highlight the urgent need for comprehensive educational reform and literacy programs.
Rob reads
Let's
gooder
go
than you.
EGLSES.
Rob reads
I know
gooder than
that's
you.
anecdotal.
This is not.
I know that's anecdotal.
This is not
but the
new.
numbers don't lie.
This is not new.
Tom says it all the time. Words talk, numbers scream. We got some dumbass people in this country.
Yeah.
Excuse the language, y'all. Excuse the language.
No, it is not.
Because if you look at what states are doing
It's
well,
the
what
point
states are
that I
doing
just
well,
want
they all stupid
come
is,
across.
stupid does.
Yeah, but this has existed for a long time. And we have a culture of accommodation, not of excellence. One of the reasons you guys have been able to distinguish yourselves is that Pat is so results focused and oriented. You do not have that in our culture in a lot of places, specifically within our systems. You don't have it. You don't have it in our government. You don't have it in our education system.
Vivek, could you unpack that for me a little more?
Look, I mean, I don't think these are new arguments. The question gets into, well, how do you change it? And the biggest thing in politics that people don't want to touch, you will not hear, whether it's Trump, I don't care who the politician is, no one's going to say, you know, Pat, your kids aren't doing well. You're not getting it done as a parent. How much phone time you letting them have? How much do you make your kid read every night? Well, I got to work. I got to do this. No, I understand. But, you know, it's on you. Your kid is a reflection of your efforts.
Yeah.
Well, you're not going to hear anybody say
I agree.
that. You're not going to hear anybody say that. Why? Because I'm not there. You're not voting for me now. So our politics is about giving somebody an excuse for their own behavior. And, you know, we spend too much money. If we spent less, or we did it differently, or the states had more control. If you don't raise your kids right, it doesn't matter what school they're going to. I've had my oldest kid went to what some think anecdotally, to your point, is the best high school in the country, okay? Trinity in New York City, private school. I'm telling you, as somebody who watched her go through that school from K to 12, okay? She's only going to do as well as we make her do. She was blessed with a good brain. What she's going to make of it is about what her mother insisted on every frickin' night. And in the fights that we had over this stupid thing. And the best thing a school has ever done for me was what my public school in Sag Harbor did, of Long Island, of making you not allowed to have this phone in school. My kid has changed academically because the environment has changed. She doesn't have to compete with her friends about this distraction machine. And that is something that a school can do. But otherwise, it's on parents. You know, we're trying to absent them from this. It's not fair.
We are on the same page on the responsibility where it's
I
at.
mean, look at your kids.
Yeah.
Look how you are with them. What do you think? It's just a coincidence? It's just genetics that they're doing what they're doing at this young age? You're making it happen for them.
A great point, Pat. Because I know you want to move on, Pat. This is one of our stories, but we don't have to get into it. Teens spend more than a quarter of their time at schools on their phones. A quarter.
I believe it.
Holy moly.
A quarter of what did it say? Teens spend what?
Teens spend, it's on miscellaneous. The first one,
Yeah.
teens spend more than a quarter of their time. So Seattle Children's Hospital tracking 115 students, 8 to 12. 25%, they spend 2 hours on their phones in a 6-hour day, 6.5-hour day.
Have you watched this generation watch a movie at home?
Oh, forget it.
They watch the movie and they're on the phone.
At the same time.
I gotta make a comment with this, right? So here in our home, first of all, my boys don't even have a cell phone, okay? I have a 16-year-old without a cell phone, yes. What we opted for was a watch, and his watch allows him to make phone calls, to text, and to do some other things too, but he's not connected to the distractions of social media, so on and so forth, right? So none of our boys have their own phone. That's for one. Then another thing, when it comes to during the week, there's no type of watching TV. There's no TV. None of that. If they are online on their computer, it's because they're doing schoolwork. Other than that, they're not allowed to do it. If they're on that laptop during the week, it's because of schoolwork. And I've been telling them, like, you better not be on that laptop doing anything else if it's not schoolwork, right? And on the weekends, you have to give a balance, right? You run your family the way you see fit. But for us, we don't do the cell phones, nope. And we don't do any TV, nothing during the week, during school week, because your responsibility is a student, right? Of course, besides in the home with your chores and things that you have to do, you have a responsibility to make sure that you're the best version of yourself. So when it comes to doing your schoolwork, studying, reading, and putting your best foot forward, and that comes first, right? That's your job. You're a student. As we tell you, your job is you're a student right now. And on the weekends, it's different. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, they can watch TV. As far as the video games, we don't really do video games when school's in session. It depends if it's like a winter break or like a recess break or something like that throughout the year. Then Odie would opt, but he usually plays video games with them because he likes playing video games himself from time to time. So that's pretty much how the decision that we've made when it comes to phones. It's like, no, I didn't have no cell phone when I was 16, 12, and I lived and I was able to communicate with my parents. There's laptops, there's other ways that your child can have access to certain things that they need for school. They don't need the phone. That's just for us. I don't see the point of them with the phone. It works for us. Plus, my two boys, they're homeschooled anyway. I don't see the point of them needing a phone. And that's why when Ian went into high school, plus the school doesn't allow any phones either at his school. And form of communication is on that watch. There's watches that you can use that, that are really high technology and stuff like that, where he could communicate with us. That was what was more important, is that, I could reach him because he takes the bus. So if anything happens, he has a way of communicating. And before I was just like, your friends have phones. You can, if there's an emergency, you can call them, ask them to use their phone to call, which he's done before, not for an emergency, because his phone, I think his watch died or something, and he called me from somebody else's phone, and I was like, which number is this? But I picked up anyway, and it was him. He used his friend's phone because other kids got phones and stuff. And then their peers are astonished, like, how could you not have a cell phone? How could you not have a cell phone? Like, they just in their minds cannot fathom not having a cell phone. Like, how do you do it? How do you not have a cell phone? Cousins too, like, how do you not have a cell phone? But I didn't get my cell phone until I was like, gosh, I think even in college I didn't have a cell phone. I just had like a land phone that I paid for, but I didn't have a cell phone until, gosh, I'm trying to think when. I guess when I started working was when I got a cell phone. Yeah. People were still able to communicate with me. I had so yeah. When you busy, you ain't got time to be on no phone, right?
Time. And if you say, do you not like the movie? Do you want me to pick another one up? Oh, no, I like this. Nothing's happening right now in the movie. I said, what are you talking about? The movie is happening.
Plot.
That's what's happening. No, nothing's happening when something happens.
Yeah. It's too much.
I'm telling you, I know our parents were the same way with the TV, the boob tube. It's nothing like this. Nothing like this. And the research is all over the place, but we don't deal with it. Why? Because it's hard.
Yeah. Well, we like to pick on Colorado, at least I do, because it's a big blue liberal state in a lot of things. But they just became the 20th state to put in cell phone restrictions at high school. Phone goes in a Faraday bag during class, and you have to be 100% paying attention, and, it's a good thing.
No social media until 16. That should be the national law.
Well, what did DeSantis impose here? Was it 15?
Australia was right.
Australia national law.
Was it 13 or 15?
Whatever he did is good. I don't even know. I haven't heard of it. Yeah. But anything, I'm telling you, if I could go back in time and fight one fight and win, I would have never given my kids a smartphone.
What age should you get one phone?
Whatever they wanted it. Whenever the other kids started getting it. And it got younger and younger with each kid.
Remember what age?
Bella didn't get it until she was 13 or something like that.
Yes, the
Mario
children are
was
getting
probably
younger
then
and
gonna be
younger
like
with
12
these
'cause she had
phones
it.
that are like
Cha-Cha was gonna be
computers
like
in their
11
hands.
because their friends and you lose because you're weak and you want it easy.
Anxious
and you want to
generation.
pick your fights. And it's a mistake.
Have you read Anxious Generation?
You're right.
Anxious
And
Generation.
the less and less I go on, Pat was joking around with me when I came in saying, hey, you look good today. I'm telling you, I have made a conscious decision. Now, my timing's not great because social media is more relevant in our world than it ever has been in media. But I have made a conscious decision to not be on it as often. And I've seen the change in my search. My search thing is now dominated by car restorations and changing shoes on horses and dealing with problems with cows. I could be a farrier. I watch so many videos about how to deal with ulcers on cow hooves. Why? Because I am making a conscious effort. I'm doing homework all day for my shows.
You got an
All
exciting
day.
life, Cuomo.
But
Watching,
I'm telling you,
cow
the
hoof
more
videos.
I disengage from what's happening on social media, the happier
Have you read
I become.
Anxious Generation?
You need to.
I have not read it.
You wouldn't be able to put it down.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to put it down.
Yeah.
By Jonathan Haidt. Phenomenal book. Guys, if you see
Oh, yes. I have this book. I have not read it. Somebody just sent it
you
to me.
will not be able to put it down. I don't know how many times we talk about this thing. It's a must read for every parent to go through. The guy's got systems on how to deal with it, which I think is fascinating. I think it's fascinating.
And you see parents adjusting these new groups. You probably see them here a lot in Florida. Remember when we used to have the girls wear the promise rings and I'm not gonna have sex until this age or whatever it was. There are kids now who are agreeing not until high school or something like that as middle schoolers where we're all gonna stay with flip phones or we're all gonna not have social media as a group, as a team until this age. And it's a
That's
great way to
interesting.
counter something that you cannot convince me is good for kids.
I absolutely love that idea. For
Yeah.
President's Day,
All right, I think that wraps it up. I'm going to stop right here. I hope you got something out of it. I know I did when I had watched this. I think it was last week or so I had came across this video and watched it. And I was like, oh my God, this would be great to make a commentary on. A lot of facts, interesting things. But just to sum it all up, us as parents, we are the ones that are responsible for our children's education, right? In making sure that wherever there's a lack or a need that we cover that, right? And not be lazy and complacent. Make that time, parent your child, right? Parent your child and educate your child, right? And that's really pretty much it to sum it up. You could keep pumping money into something all you want, but if God's not in the center of it, and it starts from the home, right? Everything starts from the home. The family is not on board. I don't see how the education system is gonna compare when it comes to other countries, right? Internationally, right? So when you look at other countries, what's their culture? What's their religion? Look at these things. What are the family dynamics like, right? What are the things that they value? Okay? Think about that. And maybe that there is definitely a correlation with that, with why they are on the top. President Trump had mentioned countries like Denmark, Sweden, and Norway, and he even mentioned China and stuff like that. So I remember over the years growing up looking at where the United States comes from education, and I was just I always thought that, it's not always about the numbers and the scores. Education doesn't mean because you scored this and you scored that you're not smart. And being educated is not just about being books. You got street smarts and doing things, being a kid. Let's just be kids. Let our kids be kids. Let them enjoy themselves. Let them travel, do sports, and hang out with their friends and develop memories and all these things and stuff like that. But homeschooling has made me understand things and see things from a different perspective. And I noticed that because Ian goes to private school and he's in school, I notice how my focus is more on the other two than with him, because it's like, oh yeah, he goes to school, his teachers are teaching him. I don't need to really worry about what he's doing and stuff like that. But then I'm like, no, I have to still be involved and make sure whatever support and help that he needs, thankfully, and by God's blessing, he's a very smart young man. He does very well. He scores high on his exams, and he's like always on the honor roll, and periodically he's chosen to be a student of the quarter and stuff like that. So, but we still, check up on him, seeing you good, and if he needs any help, he does ask us, and we are on top of him because he's still only 16, and you have to make sure you're present and you know what's going on with them socially, with friends and so on and so forth. But I could keep talking on and on. I hope you got something out of this video. Enjoy the rest of your week. Again, I'm excited that I finally finished the online course guide for parents who are thinking of homeschooling their children. So definitely go to stepstohomeschooling.com, and I have a lot of great products and materials too, like cups, mugs, sweatshirts that I design with you in mind for parents, all right, and stuff like that. So definitely check out the site. It's still growing. I have a lot of good ideas for it. I'm just letting Holy Spirit lead me and guide me with that. And the more feedback I get from you all, then I'll also know which direction also to go and where your needs are at. All right. Take care. God bless. Grace and peace. Bye.